Hi, welcome back to Rhythms a Riddle. I'm your host, Tons Gauntlet. Thanks for tuning in again. I'm also on BitChute now, BitChute.com. I'm on BitChute. It's way better than Rumble. You should just read the contracts, folks. BitChute's like low key. Rumble, the Rumble contract will make you puke. It will make you puke. I mean, if you're an artist or a content creator, I'm saying. I think that for political commentary, it might be okay, where you're not really worried about other people taking your stuff and copying your stuff and listening to your stuff, and like the more it gets dissected and cut down, that's like just all more references to you, right? So then that builds you up, that type of thing, those media personalities that are built up like that upon the constant attention drawn toward them and drawn toward little bits of what they said or whole things of what they said. And, so maybe it's okay. A lot of people seem to be enjoying it quite a lot. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people can also make their own ads and show their ads. I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't fit into that kind of way of thinking or that kind of a society of people. I don't fit in. I'm a total outcast from that as an artist, as somebody who's engaged and meditates upon aesthetics and poetics. And so, as somebody who's a creator, the internet's the worst place of all, because it's like for a musician practically, because like you get less and less, you get, fewer and fewer pennies for more and more work. And at the end of the day, it's all free. It's all stolen. Everything is so easily stolen like before, It's all about record collections. That's the truth in music, for studying music. And libraries are definitely up there too with collections. But collecting records from the beginning is a big part of appreciating music and studying music at all. And the alienation of the collection through technology, when they left CDs, they took the digital realm to just the realm of like, well, we'll keep it for you, but you can access your stuff. We'll make sure we keep it as your stuff. It's just becoming more and more distant, the data packaging of it, I mean, but once it's just removed from you and you don't even have the physical record or tape or whatever CD anymore. And tapes were great. I mean, yeah, they'd chew apart once in a while. They'd get stuck and then the tape was gone. Sometimes you could even salvage one after and re-roll it and get the knot out or something. They were a little bit sturdy. But tapes sounded great. Tapes sounded absolutely marvelous, just as records did. More than CDs. CDs the digital realm has a vacuum all around it that the records and the tapes didn't have. And so, listening to that stuff, tapes are just mind-bogglingly good. Just records could be, but tapes were better because they were way longer than a record. You could put 70 minutes on a tape or something? I think a record could only hold about 40 minutes, or maybe upwards of that type of thing. I don't know, because I grew up in the tape age where there weren't even CDs. I was like the first Apple computer ever was donated to my elementary school, or the first model, because it was around the corner from the first little Apple office building, just some little office building that they had from the beginning, but they were, and so I remember the computer in libraries. I remember it. I hated it. I thought the computer sucked. I thought the computer sucked. They'd show you like, oh, look, you type in all of these codes and then you can watch a turtle build a web. Oh, a turtle building a web, But of course, what did I know? Video games took over the world. Video games basically took over the world because right in my lifetime, they came around on the Atari. And the first sort of little video game anyone could get and set up to their TV and then play through their TV. And it was so addicting and so mesmerizing. And the attachment into human fun was like, it's so complete that I can only like thank God for having resurrected me from that kind of a pit of electronic music hell and like pure narcissism. Electronic music is 100% pure narcissism. And so, I mean, I went through it. I'm not against it. But, not narcissism. What did I say? That wasn't it. I meant atheism. It's atheism. Electronic music is atheism. If you really look deep into it, and if you look deep into the truth of acoustic music and traditional music, electronic music is the denial of the divinity of sound and so forth. So I came on to just quick talk about Terence McKenna for a minute and give a talk about McKenna, but I suddenly found myself thinking about music. And also, I think I was introducing you to BitChute and saying why you should go here and not over to Rumble, especially if you're an artist. I know there's a lot of things wrong with BitChute, and I try to explain that a little bit too and say, look, you got to get ready, prepare yourself. It's like they're not as fast. Like download time can be very frustrating sometimes. Once in a while, the time it takes to download a video will just go way beyond what you would. Like you're waiting and waiting, so you like put it down and take a shower, brush your teeth, you look over, you're still waiting, it doesn't load, that sort of thing. But you can see it's not like it's new. Other people have watched it. It's already gotten views. So the fairness thing too, I don't know what determines why they're unfair and with some channels and fair with others. That's essentially being unfair to all. So all of the big channels on that are showed up on the scroll of BitChute are the ones that they're promoting as BitChute, but they don't tell you that. And they give the impression before you get an account and figure it out from the inside out, which is the only way to figure it out, by publishing and seeing that, no, they're censoring their own people. I've been censored immediately from the very beginning. I think there were like maybe one or two of my videos which were sort of probably showed up in their scroll, and that was it. And I've had published 10 now, and it seems like only about, it's very strange. It's very strange and you can see that too by searching around on BitChute. You'll go to some of their categories and you'll get stuff that doesn't show up on their main scroll. Why is their main scroll all like deleting? You just selecting 5% of all the people publishing anything or whatever the percentage is, it's like low. Even if it's just 50%, like why the hell are they allowing all of that other stuff and they're cutting other people off from even being found from the beginning? I mean, everyone starts out with 0 views and then you publish your thing on BitChute and then nobody has a problem with watching something that has like 3 views on it already, on BitChute, because that's how everything pops up right to the top of their scroll. That's how it's supposed to work. At least it didn't actually really say so. That's what I just thought. I had heard that's how it worked or something like that. but it's not. They're whatever. Even if I'm just in the wrong half that they're just not promoting. I don't know what it is. Do I have to pay them to promote me? How would I find out if that's how I have to do? It's not easy, you know? Why don't they say that? Why don't they notify people that say, look, if you want to show up on our main scroll, you can like offer a donation or something, and then we might, you know, help suggest you, or, you know, whatever way they want to try and put it. If that's what it's all about, why don't they just say so instead of letting, because they're supposedly not censoring videos, but then they are, right? Then they are, right? They say, wait, we don't censor it. Well, what's the difference? If you don't let it show up on your scroll, then essentially it's censored. Yeah, well, maybe they can find it if they are already subscribed to me. But people so far, nobody, like most of the viewers who are on BitChute don't seem to actually have subscribers. Like, I've watched BitChute for 2 years. I never had a subscription, so I can't comment, I can't like. You can read the other comments, but you can't get in on the conversation, and you can't rate it or anything like that. And so, but a lot of people are watching BitChute like that. And that's how, because it's like, why? It's like, if you don't need an account, you only need an account to comment. And then most of the comments are so negative and so like quarrelsome as just to make no sense whatsoever. People are making these great declarations from some pit of being like an anonymous sort of blib somewhere out in the ether with some sort of like, you know, funky sort of title or word amalgam glommed on to their identities, and under that name that they presuppose, it's like they're like, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, really, oh yeah, they'll violently, you know, oppose your point of view, or something about your video or something. It'll just be this like vehement opposition to you. And yet it's like, from what credit do they have to their word? It's like, this is some anonymous blib. The words, the declarations of some anonymous blib floating in the ether, right? It's like, it's preposterous. It's absolutely preposterous. The negativity and the assumed, like, I had one anonymous blib, like, dogpile my comment. I made some comment like saying, like, of course people are skeptical about the eating like tomatoes that are spliced with fish genes to make them more glossy or something, you know? It's like, of course people are sketchy like that. And in response, one of these anonymous blibs just like burped at me, this like gigantic puke of basically, it was like calling me like the biggest idiot in the world. That was it. Like, immediately, I was the biggest idiot in the world, and here's why. And then he shoved at me like, you know, 400 documents that I was supposed to look at. So then I would know that how stupid I had been. When, I mean, see, we're not, the idea, they're trying to attack us, and then they're using this idea, like, who is this? Is this guy some pseudoscientist, right? And he's so mad. Why would you possibly be angry at someone expressing a point of view that, like, of course people are hesitant about eating a tomato gene spliced with fish genes, or whatever, hundreds of other variants they're doing and stuff. It's like, of course people view this as freak science. It is. It's absolutely freak science. And I'll tie that right in, because Terence McKenna too was freak science. Terence McKenna is a much better thinker, and I appreciate him a lot. I admire him. All of his talks that I've heard, I love his humor. And I think he's an absolute genius. He really is, because what he was able to articulate. But I think he was also a polymath. And so, like, his forays into other topics are some of the greatest uh, expositions in modern literary theory and um, arcana as well. He was like deeply engaged in the conversation of literary alchemy and alchemy as such as well, which is a difficult thing. It's not just something with people trying to make gold out of pennies or something, like, oh, what's the magic spell? Alchemy from the very beginning was a polymathy. And in fact, science itself, everything we know about science, we owe to alchemy. All of the progress, it's like for many, for like basically a millennium or two, alchemy and science were the same. And it wasn't until the past, 300 years until the codification, well, maybe longer than that. You can go back. There are steps in science and stuff, 600 years, 800 years. But the codification, the branch out. But then for science itself to cast out alchemy as just some sort of peevish superstition is, it's very one-sided brain type of thing, one-sided brain activity type of thing. That's what it is, a one-sided brain activity. Yeah, it's a one-sided brain activity, and like a lot of science tends toward that. Music is the opposite. Music, it's like engages the full soul because it takes mind and heart to excel, definitely. I mean, anybody can study it, but even at the beginning to study it, since you're using both sides of the brain, and so both hands. So, but even McKenna, who I admire a lot, and like I was saying, I love his humor and his forays into other areas like Finnegan's Wake, like the manuscript. What is that called? That alchemical manuscript that no one could decode, the Voynich manuscript, right? The Voynich. He had something to say about Voynich codes and manuscript. And what McKenna said, like his talk on Voynich that he gave 40 years ago, it's like still to this day the best talk on the Voynich. No one has, nothing else. Even they make new talks or anything as the contemporary talks. Nothing's as good and enlightening as, I think, as McKenna's, because McKenna's brilliant. He was a genius, like I'm saying, and his humor and all of his talks is just, it's exciting. It's definitely very exciting and palpitating humor that he has. But my point was going to be that he had a theorem. It was called the time wave continuum theorem. And that's what I was going to point out. Also, freak science. I would think you could label that as freak science. A lot of the edges of McKenna's talk, like especially his time wave theorem and continuum, in my opinion, he was out of his gourd. It's like he was absolutely out of his gourd. And in a way, that's why we love him too, because he was brave and bold enough to stand up and say those things that like maybe a bunch of people around him might think were crazy. Like even his own, like he was beyond all of his own followers, he was beyond all of his own followers and even his contemporaries. Like, his best contemporary, his best peer is Rupert Sheldrake, who's still alive, actually. Sheldrake and McKenna were the best. That guy from UC Santa Cruz, Ralph Abraham, I never took to him. He seemed to glom on to McKenna, probably just by going over to Esalen and taking a bath in their spa or something, and then meeting the guy, two nudists together, philosophizing, it's like McKenna was never known as a nudist, but it's like, why would you need to be known as a nudist? It's like he wasn't necessarily a nudist. He was never naked in public, you know, but it's like Esalen Institute, you know, that's probably where they met. I don't know why how he endeared himself so much to McKenna. I don't think Abraham was as a fascinating a thinker. I think the Rupert Sheldrake was a far more fascinating thinker. Far more fascinating. I mean, it's like talking about the boundaries of science. Of course, that's what it's all about. There are ethics. Everything science can possibly examine and discover, it isn't everything that it should be allowed to examine and discover and study. You know, there are limits, ethical limits upon study and upon inquiry and upon science. There absolutely are ethical limits upon those things. And so, as I was saying, McKenna's theory, I think his time wave theorem, it was like his most outlandish and bonkers idea, which I guess is fine, right? I mean, but he was a genius in many, many other ways besides that. He was a genius. So it's like, and of course he knew it was speculation. He knew it was a speculation, and it was entirely. In fact, if you look at it from the beginning, well, how did he select a beginning for the time wave? When was that beginning, and why did he select that? And then he selected the end as 2012. I remember him saying that. So, and I mean, how he lined things up, what he chose to be like major events. Maybe you could agree, but maybe you could disagree. It's like a little bit, it's a very bizarre notion of his theory. And you'll see how he framed it on ancient Chinese alchemical script. He was deeply into alchemy from all over the world. So he got into the I Ching, and that's what the time wave was all about. His map of I Ching onto history. You know, he's out of his gourd, you know. McKenna was out of his gourd. But have you heard anyone else articulate the response to McKenna like so articulately than me? Like, you know, come on. Like his liberation of the mushroom. He's the mushroom prophet of all. Well, I mean, he was deeply embedded within the DMT experience and has helped to communicate that to the world, which is important because some people are called to it. Other people, I'm not called to that DMT experience. I know it's much, much farther beyond the mushroom, so they say, but I mean, it's different. You know, the mushroom I've always found is when respected and used properly is extremely holistic and balancing and kind of heart chakra opening and a crown chakra opening as well. It's very balancing. It has been as like a therapeutic throughout my life to cope with the modern world, the sort of the alienation of the modern world, and then as well as a therapy of trauma later on in my life. So McKenna, I first came to him through that book. He wrote many books. Some of them you just can't understand. Who was he writing to? Well, probably Stephen Hawking and maybe a few other people. And that's about it. Yeah, McKenna, really? I think I need to plug here. No, not an ad. I need to plug some power into the device. All right. Yeah, who was he talking to? But his great book I read when I was like 17. Actually, I think I was 16. It was right before my junior year in high school. I went to started taking college classes. And that summer, I took an anthropology. Boy, it's probably like the best college class I have ever taken. With Rich Wood, anthropology with Rich Wood at De Anza College. Wow, Rich Wood, it's like opened my eyes with like such a fun class. And when I chose to do my term paper on shamanism, he directed me towards a few books. One was Terence McKenna, The Food of the Gods. And that's a very easy to understand book. I think Terence McKenna knew a lot about different audiences. And some of his books are directed to just very select audiences, way beyond you or me, probably, because some of his books, you just think he's out of his gourd. He's absolutely out of his gourd. And in a way he was, if you look at the time wave continuum and all of that, I think. And then that one confession he made once where he said he thinks that it was the poets that have betrayed us. Well, I don't really know what he was saying by that, because I think it seems sort of cynical. But everything else McKenna said, all of his talks, absolutely fascinating. He's like a philosopher of our age. He has taken Carl Jung and Finnegan's Wake and blended them into an alchemical kind of response to the beauty and fascination within the world of art and literature, and especially in McKenna's case, as augmented by the exploration of alternate states of consciousness through psychedelic use, which is a human attribute that humans have always done in all societies for tens of thousands of years. It's like and that you learn in anthropology as well. And so anthropology is that class, one of the best. And then that book, Food of the Gods, he tried to tie in the mushroom with human evolution. He did a good argument for it. He didn't say it definitely happened. He was obviously proposing a theory. McKenna was brilliant. He wasn't just a haphazard speaker in any way. So, and that's what I wanted to talk about. So thanks for listening. Join me on BitChute at Rhythms Riddle, and also on YouTube at Rhythms Riddle. Thank you.